Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Finance Committee's public hearing of today, Wednesday, September 24th, at the Great Hall, the third floor of Town Hall, 10 Pearl Street, Stoughton. I am going to call the meeting to order, and I'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will do introductions and announcements. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Since we last met, we've had one resignation, and now we have four new moderator appointees. Lisa Lyons resigned, notified the town moderator that she was resigning from the Finance Committee after our last meeting on September 4th. So we want to thank Lisa for her time and service. You know, her contributions will be missed. And with that, Lisa was a moderator appointee. With that, and the three moderator appointees that had finished their terms in June, Vaughn Enochian, David Lurie, and Diane Dolan. Well, not Diane. Sorry, Diane was not a moderator appointee. There was one vacancy that we've had for several years. We now have a full 17-member Finance Committee. Our new Finance Committee members are Don Dino, Ingrid Beck, Marty Walsh, and Dennis Carter. So welcome, everybody. And you will all get name tags that are being ordered, so. People always manage to find me, who I was, no matter what. Okay, I will enter, tonight we have on our agenda is a public hearing for certain articles that are on the special town meeting warrant for October 27th, so I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing. I have a motion and second made by Chet and seconded by Arnie to open the public hearing. So the first article we have before us is Article 1, which includes unpaid bills for prior fiscal years. And we have the town manager and the assistant town manager telling us about it.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Through you to the members of the Finance Committee, and in particular, welcome to the new members. We're delighted to have you. We look forward to meeting and working with you. Article number 1. Unpaid bills from prior fiscal years. I want to provide you some background on this. Over the last decade or so, I'm sorry. Thank you, Chet. Thank you. Over the last decade or so, the town has become fairly lax in terms of closing its books. As you all know, the end of the fiscal year is June 30th. Beginning of the new fiscal year is July 1st. And from that one day, July 1st, the finance manager's job, and it's a race, is to close the books, order the audit, start preparing for the tax recap by November, and to start preparing for the certification of free cash and new growth. We can't do that until the books are closed. And so the town has been fairly lax. So this year, Elizabeth went on record as saying that we're closing the books on July 1st. Not September, not October. We're closing the books on July 1st, and you've got until August 15th to encumber funds from the previous fiscal year. For the newer members, encumber means just simply putting a placeholder so we can account for it in the proper fiscal year. As you can imagine, that was a culture shock. So although we've got a very big budget, there was approximately, the number is $16,389 of bills from fiscal 25 that were not closed out. We always have unpaid bills from the fiscal year. This is the highest I've seen it since I've been here, and it's purely because some department heads did not get their bills in or did not get them encumbered in time. And so this is the mechanism we use on every special town meeting to account for those bills. So what this means is that this money will be charged to this fiscal year's budget. We're not going to go back and restate last fiscal year. And it's kind of a hard lesson for department heads, because now they're starting off the fiscal year a little bit underwater because they didn't get their bills either in, or if they hadn't arrived, like some of these electric bills at the golf course were 4 months behind in us receiving them. They didn't encumber for them. They didn't account for them. So now we got to pay for them out of this fiscal year. This item you'll see in every spring special town meeting, because there's always unpaid bills from the previous year. This year, we hope to close our books are closed. We hope to begin the audit by September. We expect to be able to certify free cash and new growth, not in January, but in November. Now, why is that important? If you remember the debate from last year, the real issue for discussion was around what are our revenues? How can we forecast accurately the expenses when we don't know with any form of precision what our revenues are, because the books didn't close in time? Pushing the calendar up 60 days will allow us to calculate our best estimate on revenues before you have to vote on the budget. That's a promise we make to you. So that's the result of this pushing up the calendar, is not everything got in by the time the final bell rang. This is how we account for it. It's a standard town meeting article. You'll see it every year. But by doing it this way, we'll have the ability as a team between the Selectmen and the FinCom to know our revenue numbers as you're considering an expense budget. So this is $16,389 of unpaid bills from the prior fiscal year that will be charged in this current fiscal year. I hope that explains it. I know it's probably more detail than most want.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up to questions from the Finance Committee. Chet?
Madam Chair, thank you. Mr. Coulter, I read on the articles that some were not paid since 2024.
Chet, say that again.
I read that some of the invoices were not paid since 2024.
That's possible. We've received batches of...
Mostly NRG, I believe.
I'm sorry?
And NRG and what's the other one?
Most likely utility.
It looks like there was one from May of '24 for JM Pet Resort for animal control.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I can't get it up on my iPad, so.
We've got two ways, Chet, as you know, of accounting for our expenses. We either have the hard bill, or we have an encumbrance for a bill that has not come in yet. In that case, it was a bill that came in from 2024 from a business that had changed hands and bill is late. It happens quite often. We just got 4 months of bills from the electric company at the golf course. Now, what's the remedy for that? The remedy is, you know you're going to get an electric bill, so you can at least accrue, or in the municipal space, we call it a encumbrance, which is a placeholder. Mm-hmm. In those particular cases, they didn't get a bill, and they failed to encumber it, so it carries over.
Okay.
It's not a big number considering a $140 million budget, $16,000, but we strive for perfection. Don't always get it, but this is clearly a result, in most cases, of closing the books so much faster than we did.
No.
We just got the 2024 audit back, FY24 audit back 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And we only got the bill from them 2 weeks ago.
My only concern is that, but if we don't pay our bills, we're going to accrue interest. And I saw one that had a pretty significant interest on the invoice. So I just don't understand why, if we're not getting the invoices, that's one thing.
We don't
If
pay the
get 'em,
interest. We don't
should
pay
pay
the
'em.
interest.
Sorry?
Municipality, we don't pay the interest. And if they want to stop doing business with, they can,
Well,
but they don't.
I wish I could bring it up, but, okay.
What bill were you looking at, Trent?
I can't bring it up now.
Do you remember what company?
But you'd agree, Chet, they can't charge us interest if they didn't bill us.
Do you know what bill it was?
So, like, I'm looking at one. So, just briefly, I'm looking at the bill from JM Pet Resort, and there was a finance charge. So you're saying you wouldn't pay the finance charge because,
We don't pay interest.
okay,
And we also don't pay sales tax.
okay.
I would say on a, listen, I wish that was a zero number. It's been an article on town meeting for eternity, going back 100 years, because this is how it happens. On a $130 million, $140 million budget, there are going to be instances where
had this thing
bills
all
fell
worked
through the
out.
cracks,
So,
or we
right.
failed to encumber.
So the goal is to get everything encumbered by June 30th, so that
the
we
goal.
would not have this, but always things fall through the cracks, which we understand. So when they're not encumbered by June 30th, we have to have a new authorization to pay them, because the authorization to pay them previously has expired.
That's what I should have said in the beginning.
All right. Any questions? Arnie?
Hey, Yanni, how you doing? Your mic, Artie.
Good evening. Two items. Maybe it was asked before because I was trying to find this. One is JM Pet Resort and the other one is Waste Management. What are those for?
Yeah, so perhaps I should have had somebody here to answer the details of what the specific invoices are. I was more interested in where we were in the process, but I do know what waste management is for. We now pick up solid waste at people's homes, and we didn't get the bill until 2 weeks before we closed out these numbers. So that was an example of late billing. Now, having said that, Ani, it should have still been encumbered. We should have done a placeholder for it, and we didn't get that done.
On the Waste Management, solid waste, is that the bagged waste that we put out?
No, that's a couch. That's a drawer.
Oh,
sort of
okay,
drawer.
I get it, yeah.
Yep, no, we don't have to do that. It's a single stream recycling type of material. So but it is disposal. It is disposal.
We as residents pay for that. So they charged me to pick up a couch, $45. Isn't that going towards what the costs are to dispose of it?
Of course it is. And we paid the bill right after we received it. We don't pay bills before they come in.
No, I understand that. But do we have the money based on what the citizens have paid to remove solid waste?
Do we have the money?
I mean, we paid for it. Is that being saved somewhere?
Arnie, perhaps I can help. When all the money paid into the trash fee, if we pay for the separate, like if we want them to pick up a couch, so we pay $40 for them to come and pick up a couch.
Yeah.
All of our money that we pay goes into the general fund, all right? Whether or not our trash department, it's the Public Works Department picks it up, or if they contract out to pick it up. Looks like in this case, they contracted out with someone to pick it up. So they will pay them, and then the money is in their budget to allocate.
Okay.
And we're allocating the money from there. So money is there, but it flows into the general it flows into the general fund, and we need to have some sort of mechanism, permission for the town to take it out of the general fund and pay this bill, and that's what we're doing.
I understand that part.
Okay.
I guess my real question then was, are the funds that they're collecting from the citizens paying for the entire part of this bill?
So not directly, Arnie. As Carolyn said, all the money that citizens pay go into a general fund, so it's not tied directly to this invoice. There's no direct relationship between what the citizen pays and what we pay the vendor. There may be many different generators, if you will, customers on that same truck. Because we're a $140 million budget, we don't have to wait to get paid in order to pay the vendor. So there's no direct relationship. All revenues go into the general fund, and then it's based upon the budget that we're able to pay bills on time, because the money's been allocated. The
And the-
expense budget.
And the fee that we're charging may or may not equal exactly the charge that we're getting from the company.
Okay,
All right?
that's what I was looking for.
Because the fee is just determined by an estimate what we think the additional cost that we may have. But if it's more than that, the town is absorbing the additional cost, not that individual resident.
Thank you very much.
Which article?
Are there any other questions on Article 1 from the Finance Committee? Arnie, I forgot to explain, for the JM Pet Resort, the charges were for shots for dogs. Yeah, a couple of All right, since it's a public hearing, I'm going to open it up to the public. Cynthia?
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. I just wanted to hear the number again. I got the 16,000, but my ears are slower. If just one person could answer the question.
It is $16,389.19.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to speak on Article 1? Not hearing any, we can move on to the next item on the agenda, which is Article 3, an FY26 supplemental budget adjustment.
Madam Chair, through you, like Article 1, this is an article you will see on every special town meeting. It's a standard article. There's no action required on this article right now.
Hold on. I think you skipped to Article 3. We're on 2, right?
I thought you said
Article 2 is not assigned
Oh,
to
I'm
the
sorry.
Finance Committee.
Agenda for tonight.
He'll get me good on that tomorrow.
Man, I love that he did that. Typically, that's me that does that, and I'm getting an elbow in the ribs. Mark, let's talk tomorrow. Yeah. All right, thank you. May I continue? Thank you, Mark. This is another standard article. You'll see it every year. This may be a debit or a credit. You may have inflows or outflows out of your FY26 budget where we have to make adjustments based upon the prior year. By way of example, we may have a local aid number, and we find out between now and town meeting that the legislature has reduced that number. We may have a Chapter 70 number, and we find out that the Ways and Means Committee in the State House increased that number. So this is the mechanism by which we make that adjustment to the current budget. But there are no requested
So right now,
adjustments
there are no,
no adjustments.
so we do not anticipate any adjustments being made before the special town meeting, barring an emergency.
Not at this time.
Thank you.
Again, it's driven by what the legislature typically does.
I understand that. Any questions from the members of the Finance Committee? Any questions from the members of the public? Thank you. And the next article we have on our agenda tonight is Article 5, the collective bargaining agreement for the Stoughton Public Works Department, AFSCME 362.
Madam Chair, we'll be asking the FinCom to convene one more time before the town meeting, and the reason for that, we now have reached agreement with the DPW on a 3-year collective bargaining agreement. It has not been ratified in their members signing off on an MOU, so we have nothing to present to you right now. But in the next week, we will have an MOU signed by both sides, the town and the union, that we would hope to bring before town meeting so it can be considered, because as you know, if we don't have an agreement ratified by December 31st, it waits till the following year. So there are going to be 2 articles that are going to require your vote, yea or nay, prior to town meeting, that we don't have the information yet, but we know it will be ready for town meeting. So even if it's the morning or the evening, an hour before town meeting, this is one of the 2 we'd be bringing before.
Okay, I will caution you that if it's an hour or 2 before town meeting, that we will not consider it, because
Whatever, it's fine.
unless there is something far, far, far an emergency, and a collective bargaining agreement, I understand, it does not constitute an emergency. So I do understand next Wednesday and Thursday, there's a Jewish holiday. So if you could plan to let us know when the following week, because after, so that we can ideally get it into the book and let the town meeting actually vote and have it, so it can go out.
That's plenty of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Having that, any questions from the members of the Finance Committee? Article 3, there isn't any stuff. That's why there isn't anything to find. It's a common article. There's no budget adjustments being projected at this point. So we have nothing to vote on. Right? It'll likely, unless there's an emergency, be dismissed on the town meeting floor.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, Article 6, water main replacements.
How you doing, Madam Chair?
Aye.
This phase, Keith Nastasia, Water and Sewer Superintendent. This article is for, continue on with our water main infrastructure improvements. It's a $2.25 million article, and it's replacing just a little bit over 1 mile of water mains, aging water mains throughout the town.
Okay.
In this program, we are constantly in communication with the highway superintendent, to stay in line with his roads replacement program as well, so that we're not digging up, replacing water mains after a road is done. So it's constant communications, meetings with Mr. Jaffoon, stay ahead of his program as well. And this is just, as I said, wants to continue on improving our infrastructure.
Thank you. I am going to open it up to any questions from members of the Finance Committee. Heidi?
I understand this is like a program and we're like a couple years into it at least, or a year?
8.
Seems like forever.
Yeah.
How much longer will it take us to do this? Or is this kind of an ongoing thing? Like, is there like a plan? And I don't see in here anything listed about where it's going to be. So I don't know if you're just doing different sections all over or if it's going to be like a Washington Street thing.
Yeah. We have a little bit over 151 miles of water main, and 60% of it is 1940-ish and older. So that's beyond its useful life. And what we do is we target areas. One, we've been getting all the asbestos out. The current phase that we're in right now, you have till 2032 to get all asbestos pipe out of the ground, and we're there this year. So we're far ahead of that. We have a lot of cast iron pipe, water mains, which is 1940s, which is very soft because of all the real metals were used for the war, for the bullets and the bombs. So the metal's a little bit softer. We have a lot of main breaks. And that's what we do. We track areas that we have a lot of water main breaks. You know, I said with the highway paving project, we keep in front of them. If the main hasn't had many breaks or anything like that and the road is going to be paved, we renew all the services from the main to the property line at least. So everything is upgraded for the residents all the way to the property line. But with this program, I said it's targeted in areas that we're prone, that we have a lot of water main breaks. So we know that that pipe is, basically beyond its useful life.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from members of the Finance Committee? Mark?
Thank you. So you're putting this in for the special town meeting so that way you can start work ASAP in the spring. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions from members of the committee? All right, I'm going to open it up to the public. Any questions or comments on Article 6, water main replacement? Not seeing anybody stepping forward or hearing any questions, we are going to move on to our next article, which is Article 7, our annual roadway paving.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to point out as Paul comes up here, it was over 4 decades that Stoughton didn't replace any water lines. So the infrastructure still remains in spite of the last 8 years of a very aggressive infrastructure program supported by this committee, supported by town meeting members, we're still not even halfway home. But that's what happens when you close your eyes to your infrastructure for 40 years. So we thank the Finance Committee, particularly those who have been here for quite a while. I think Chet's been here for 30 years. We're finally making up some ground and focusing on priority areas. Those two priority areas are either A, the oldest pipes that will create the greatest damage if they fail, and B, the ones where we're surfacing roads. We'll then go and proactively go in and either do I&I, relining, or replacement. So thank you for your support in this project.
Thank you. All right. Paul, could you introduce yourself so everyone knows who you are, since we have so many new members?
Of course. Paul Jaffoon, Public Works Superintendent. Thanks for having me. Back again for another, like the article states, annual roadway improvements, we'll call it, not just paving. Some of these areas you'll see within the backup material are also include some curbing, sidewalk, regrading, drainage work, things of that nature. It's not just paving. That's what the public sees, but there's a little more that goes into it than just that. If you notice that the roadways listed on here are ones that we've waited on, we've deferred because of water main work, gas company work, projects that we've done in the town that we want to incorporate when those projects are complete. We'd like to think we think of everything like Mr. Nastasia said. We talk constantly and coordinate, so we're not paving before he has to replace water mains in a 2-year-old paved road. So we think we've been coordinating pretty well and hope to continue it. And like the town manager said, the support from this committee, from town meeting, and quite frankly, all the public has been great. So we'd like to continue.
Thank you. And for anyone who is interested, it looks like the roads are on page, 55 or 56 of our backup material. Includes, it's about, we're looking at 2.5 million. Is that the amount being requested?
That's correct.
All right, looks like we have Old Maple Street, Pleasant Street, at the Pine Street intersection, Sunrise Terrace, Amherst Road, Dottie Drive, Faxon Road, Kenmore Road, Larhoven Terrace, Ralph Mann Drive, Rayburn Road, Royal Road, Stoughton Street, Woodbine Road, Valley Drive, Leach Street from Prospect to Park, Belcher Street, Pierce Street, Ash Park Drive, Bramblewood, Bush Road, and Winship Way. I read those because everybody always wants to know when their street's getting paved. And I know I read that very fast, but that material will be included in our town meeting's backup material. Chet?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For people who don't know these streets, this is the Pinecrest area, down that area. So, and I know that they've just been doing a lot of structural work on the ground, like sewers and water lines or whatever. But my question, Paul, is, by the way, congratulations, and you're doing a great job. I love the red hydrants.
Thank you.
But my question is, like, when I first came out of the Marine Corps, moved down to Doty Drive, we had cesspools. Now, are they hooked up to septic system now? Do you know? It wasn't.
I would probably have a better shot at answering that question than Mr. Jaffoon.
I was going to defer to the town engineer.
No, I'm just asking. It's been years since I lived there, but I'm just curious.
Unfortunately, I don't memorize areas of town that are sewered. I literally rely on my GIS system, which is a very solid system. So I'd have to look at that tomorrow and get back to you, Chet.
No, I'm just curious. That's all.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's.
Now you got me curious too, so I got to check tomorrow. So, I'll let you know.
All right, that's fine. Thank you. And one question for Paul, if I may, Madam Chair. All the roads you're paving are great. And I know you're working with the Highway Department. the water department, things like that. But my question is, what about Pine Street, Maple Street, with all the Amazon trucks coming through there? Are they going to be, I think part of it's part of the state road, right? Up to Target, I believe?
Actually, thank you for mentioning that, because I would be remiss if we didn't mention that Page Street from the Avon line to about the new CAT facility up
Yeah,
closer to the Hampton Inn there will be paved next week. That
Oh, it will be.
construction work will happen next week. I know it's long overdue. Again, we waited for a lot of utility work and then the big project there, so
Okay.
we thought the timing, we needed to wait, frankly.
Right.
As for the other roads, I'm sorry, Chet, can you
The
repeat?
one by
which-
Target coming up 139, you know, the big dip in the road?
Yeah. Turnpike and
Turnpike
Page
and-
up there.
Yeah, 139, yeah. Yeah. Well, before that. Yeah. But I'm just curious, is that state road or is that our road?
I know I think you're referring to. It's across from like where Cumberland Farms and Target is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got the rutting going on?
Yeah,
They repaired that about 2 years ago, right? If I
they
remember.
did, but with all these Amazon
It's still wearing
trucks
out.
going up there,
That was a DOT roadway.
Okay.
So they actually went in there and I believe repaved that section. Correct me if I'm wrong, Paul?
no, again, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Whether it's our responsibility or state responsibility.
The state highway layout ends right about at that point, so I believe that's a state highway layout.
All right, thank you.
Arnie?
Hi, Paul. I want to repeat that you've been doing a great job on the roads, repaving them. They look great. Just to clarify, I believe Chet asked the question, but I was confused. Are you repaving Turnpike Street from, let's see, from the lights all the way up to Central? Is that what I interpreted?
No, a major section of that was just paved last week, though, at the logistics park.
Right where the big building is.
Yeah, a major portion of that was just paved last week by that project.
Thank you very much.
Dawn, and then Ian?
Hi, Dawn Dino. I have a question about Page Street. I know that you're paving that next week. How often do you think you'll have to keep paving that street with all the trucks going to? And how much of that would cost us more?
That's a great question. More frequently than we would have to do, than we normally have to do the main thoroughfares in the town. Would you say 8 to 10 years, probably? Probably every 8 to 10 years, but the construction and let's say the demolition of the roadway that will take place on the newly installed water main will be, it'll be better construction, better sub-base than what's on there currently. So we expect it to last a lot longer than just, we'll call it the patch job from the water main job.
So essentially, it'll last more than 2 to 3 years.
Essentially, yes.
Don, I can add a little bit to that if you like. So that section there was a new gas line installed and there was also a new water line, each on different sides of the street. The street is a disaster if you drive down there right now. It was horrible. It was sort of like Prospect Street before we repaved it. It was just horrendous. So in order to fix that, you can't just mill and overlay that road. You can't just scrape the top 2 inches off and then pave over it, because then all those waves will come back in a couple years like you're referring to. So that will be a full depth replacement. So we go down to the sub base, the material underneath the road, we replace that and we come up and we have a binder course of pavement that's about 2 to 3 inches thick, and then another top coat of pavement that's another 2 inches thick. So you get that full cross section of pavement. So it should be solid.
Thank you, Ian Terlin. I just echo the good job. I mean, I don't know if you remember, Paul, that I ran into you. Literally, I was out for a jog, and you were repaving Whitney Street, and I said, hey, there's a pothole around the corner, and within a week, you guys had filled the pothole, and so thank you for that, but I actually have a question. On Walnut Street, we had speed tables put in, and then the speed tables were completely redone, and I was wondering kind of who paid for that, and what steps are we going to do to make sure that, you know, any of the pavement projects don't have kind of that same rework?
The Public Works Department paid for that, or will pay for that. The reason being is we, quite frankly, had a better design and better construction on the newly installed speed humps, not speed bumps, speed humps on Prospect Street. You know, as you may or may not know, those projects were approved by the Select Board. So once those projects are approved, they're the street commissioners, so we abide by them. We get approved plans, you know, engineered plans approved by the Select Board. So on this newer project, the Prospect Street, the most recent one, there was, the elevations on the speed humps were much less and more gradual. So it was, quite frankly, a better design. So we decided, well, while we're at it and while we're doing these and while we're going to have to paint them, because we will paint them when we can schedule that, we should redo the ones on Walnut Street to match the ones on Prospect that are much more gradual and will cause less wear and tear on vehicles, and quite frankly, our own plows and our own vehicles and trash trucks and school buses and all that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I live around the corner, and it is an improvement, and just making sure that we don't kind of have to do that rework again with this paving project.
It does cost money, and I'm not going to say that it's cheap. It's, in the grand scheme of things, redoing a couple of speed humps is, you know, a bit negligible. Not that we didn't incur any costs, and not that it doesn't cost the taxpayers money, but we thought to do a better job for the citizens, we should redo those ones.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the Finance Committee?
Thank you. My question is pretty simple, but it's just for general information for people at home or here that are new. I know you're asking for $2,500,000. I know you ask for different amounts each year. The amount from last year's special election, did you spend up to it? Did you do extra roads? What's going to go with the extra money, if you could briefly explain that?
Sure. We've spent all but, I think, about $4,500 of that. So as soon as we get the money and as soon as, we bring these roads to you because they're ready. So when we say they're ready, we mean they're ready. So we're going to go and do it right away. And the estimates are pretty on point with the paver, the contractor who does the work. Now, you will see in the next few years that we're going to get maybe a few more less roads done, just because we had to bid the contract again. Same contractor did win, but of course, like everything else, you know, just like your milk and your eggs and everything else, costs more. Cost of doing business is more, but you still get a good product, great product.
Okay, thank you.
And just so that everybody knows, one of the reasons that we put this on the fall, they put this article on the fall town meeting so that they can start the construction right away in the spring. There, Ben?
With the increased trucking activity due to Logistics Park and Milton Cat, do you anticipate bigger budgets going forward, and how would you accommodate these budgets for paving?
From my perspective, we do need bigger budgets. We, you know, would always want more money for paving, but, you know, the jobs that we have, you got to do the best with what you got, and we certainly can't and we won't ask for, you know, large increases in budgets just because one project happened. If and when we have a large capital investment we need to make, then we'll ask for it. Is that fair?
I could just add to that, if you like. For that particular part on Page Street too, where the new project is, that project is actually paying almost $750,000 to repair that road. And it will be in a better condition, like we explained before, than it is now, because we're replacing the subbase. So the road should last longer in that particular area, and that's gonna be the road that those trucks go down the most. And what people have to remember is, before that project, that was also an active quarry for years too. So there was always trucks on that road for years. There was just a pause in between. So I feel that that road's gonna be in a better condition now than it ever has been, because we're replacing the subbase.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the committee? All right, Heidi?
Do we ever get sections of the road tested to make sure that the blacktop is like the proper recipe for the usage?
That's a good question. For every project, anything that's constructed based on some plans, we always have a check to make sure what's installed on the ground matches the specs on the plans. And usually there's a resident engineer on site for paving jobs. They take the slips from the truck. They make sure it matches with what the spec is on the plans. And then we also have compaction tests that are every couple hundred feet to make sure they're actually compacting the pavement at the right thickness. So, for example, if it calls for 2 inches of pavement, some contractors will be cute and try to get 1.75 inches of pavement for the whole length, which saves them a lot of money. We make sure we get our 2. There's also other things. The temperature of the pavement, putting it down at the exact correct temperature is very important. If you don't put it down at the right temperature, it won't last as long. It'll crack and fail sooner. So there's a lot of things that go into making sure that the pavement is placed correctly. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the committee? I'm opening it up to members of the public. Anyone have any questions? If you can just introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you. Thank you very much. David Lurie, Precinct 6. I appreciate you giving me a chance to talk, and thank you. I agree, ditto, with everybody said about the great job on the roads. I appreciate the Finance Committee asking important questions about the north part of Stoughton, which is where my concerns are, and I like the answers I was hearing in terms of recognizing there's going to be a lot more stress on those roads than most other places of town. But I see an interesting challenge for the Finance Committee and the town meeting going forward, is that we got this interest. I think it's great that the town picked up in the industrial part of our town somebody who invested $250 million on a building. It's going to bring in great amounts of tax revenue for the town at very low, generally low impact to our resources. You know, the police, fire, all the different things that you'd expect. But this is the one thing that I wonder about, which is how much will actually happen to the roads over time. What parts of town will be impacted? I think there are a lot of unknowns about that I think it's important to recognize that we should be very conservative with how we think about our budgets for fixing roads until we understand exactly what these impacts are. So when the timing is really what's interesting, is that we're going to get certified free cash and new growth in November, early December. Budgets are going to come due at the end of December, seeing the revenue that's available to them to spend, and then the project probably coming online with trucks beginning to roll sometime deep into 2026. So I think it's important to see what happens over time with those milestones, like what happens with the recap when they certify the revenue, and how much we have to set aside so that either departments don't start spending that revenue or tax cuts take the revenue offline available for that kind of work. I think it's in a very sensitive area that the town should be very conservative with how they think about what's about to happen, and I hope that that happens in town.
Thank you. Any other members of the public who would like to speak on Article 7, roadway paving? Not seeing or hearing anybody, we can move on to the next item of the agenda. Article 8, purchase of a subway, not a subway, a sidewalk tractor. Yeah, now there's a rumor Stoughton has a subway.
Madam Chair, just a couple of points. Number one, I'd appreciate no more compliments for Paul, or you're going to be creating a bigger budget deficit than I'm prepared to close. This is a piece of equipment that was destroyed by a third-party car accident. Our people were not at fault. Our insurance company is going to pay this off and then subrogate to the guilty party for broke. It's a specialized piece of machinery that's hard to replace. Paul will explain it, but we expect that by town meeting we'll be able to pull this article because we expect to settle with the insurance company before town meeting. Paul can explain the equipment.
If I could just add a couple points to Mr. Calter's comment. According to our finance director, we're not going to get the full replacement value. That's not the requirements, and we don't actually get the full replacement value. I couldn't mention the law or all that. Biz couldn't tell you that. But most likely, this article will not get withdrawn, but the funds will be reduced substantially. If the article's for 220 and we get reimbursed 150,000, we would need 70, for example.
Thank you. And the sidewalk plow, the purchase price that we have right now is what per se?
That's a total replacement for, it's a sidewalk machine that plows, can snow blow, and also has the boom flail on it to side cut brush for visibility. There's a couple other attachments. There's an extra set of tires for all-terrain stuff. And like Mark said, hopefully soon we'll have a difference, a delta for you to.
Do we know
to bring the
roughly
cost-
what are you estimating for it right now in the article?
We have a very good quote for 220,000.
Thank you. So you anticipate getting some money from the insurance company, but the insurance companies never pay the replacement value. They pay what they think it's worth at the time. So we will have to pay something, but ideally not the entire amount. But we can't wait for the insurance company to figure it all out because we're going to have snow.
Well said.
All right. Any questions from members of the Finance Committee? Then Ian.
Thank you. Just curious, I know you don't know, but I'm just for clarification's sake, do you have any idea what they're going to pay out? I mean, any estimate, approximation?
Joanna, that's a good question, and it's still under debate. The reason I pointed out that we were not at fault, it was another vehicle was at fault. Our insurance company is going to subrogate to that insurance company. If they're successful in that subrogation, we'll get 100% of the replacement value. But that may not be resolved for a year. So if we're just getting paid by our insurance company, we'll probably get 80% of the appraised value. So let's say that leaves $40,000 left over. A year later, when they subrogate and settle with the third-party insurance company, we'd get that remaining 40.
So then what happens to the money when you get it? Like, how do you offset it? Just for clarification.
The money would go into the general fund.
Okay, thank you.
And I understand right now the funding source for this money is, what is the funding source that's specified right now for this money?
Our finance director currently is using the Capital Equipment Stabilization Fund.
Thank you. I had the mic over it, so I couldn't find it. Ian, did you have a question? Any members of the, Ben?
Have we looked on the secondary market for a used one or got another quote anywhere else for that?
We have not. These are specialty pieces that you really want to know where they've been and what they've gone through. So we really didn't even consider that, to be quite honest.
Becca?
What's the lifespan of a new one?
Can get about 12 to 15 years out of these.
How old was the one that got totaled in the accident?
I believe it was 9 years old.
Thank you.
I believe.
Are there any other questions from members of the Finance Committee about the sidewalk plow?
Paul, how many tractors do we have, sidewalk tractors?
2 now, that was the third.
That was all right.
The
so-
one that we will be looking to purchase with this article will be the third.
Right, okay, thanks.
Any other questions from members of the Finance Committee? Anyone from the public want to speak on Article 8, purchase of the sidewalk tractor? Hearing none, we're going to move along to Article 9, unforeseen repairs and FF&E at the community center.
Madam Chair, Paul's going to give you the financial details, just an executive summary of what we're doing there. This is the former train station. It is going to be our soon-to-be community center. It will be done by the 1st of January, most likely, hopefully. We're talking about the interior primarily. What Paul's going to summarize to you is some pretty exciting news. In 2020, when we had a takeoff done on the interior of this building, it came to $4 million. We'll finish the interior of this building for around $2.4 million, and it's a higher quality job. And Paul will explain why we need this additional money to finish the interior. And then we'll be looking to the CPC to support the external patio work and finishing of the building. I'll leave it to Paul. Point them to that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So as the town manager said, this building was originally built 1888, so not that great at math, but whatever that is, it's that old. So 140 years old, whatever it is. So with a building like that, it's not, oh, maybe we'll find something. It's how many things unforeseen are we going to have to pay for that we will definitely find, right? So when we surveyed the building, before we put it out to bid or did any bid specs or anything like that, there were things we couldn't see. Behind walls, no insulation, no vapor barrier, no, at that point in time, there really weren't those things. They didn't exist, right? But even when things did come to exist, like wiring, it was old knob and tube wiring that you just can't have that nowadays, right? So we knew that we had to replace some of it. We didn't see some things in the attic, some things we just couldn't see behind walls, that we ended up having to replace all of it. Same thing with the old cast iron piping, that some of it we couldn't see. Same thing when we took down some walls on the clock tower in the bathroom. When you first walk in there on the right-hand side, if anyone knows the building. We're redoing the bathroom with, 2025 materials and finishes, but we had to take off the walls to see the condition of everything and whether or not we had to insulate and all that. And we found that the mortar on the chimney was completely deteriorated, and there was just a bunch of sand and dirt behind the walls on the floor. So we had to completely repoint that. The floor was 2.5 inches off level. Well, we're not going to build a state-of-the-art community center that we're touting and say, come on in, just don't wear your roller skates in here because you're going to end up in this corner, right? So there was just a lot of things that were unforeseen. right? So that's the unforeseen part of it. FF&E, for those of you who don't know, I know Mr. Walk not here tonight, he would know. FF&E is furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So again, we're not going to build this brand-new, beautiful, state-of-the-art community center and have it just be empty walls. We need to furnish it, we need to finish it with things that you may not think of with a capital project, but you need to have, you know, furniture, equipment, kitchen, not kitchen, but refrigerators, things like that. We're not building a kitchen there. I don't want to get that out there, but we will have, you know, little serving areas and refrigeration, and all that stuff costs money. We're going to buy a fireplace, a gas fireplace to go where the original fireplace was. And if you look at the exhibits, you can see all this stuff. So if I can direct you to Exhibit A, which are all the change orders, necessary change orders. These are not special requests by us that we would like to have done. These are necessary change orders. And I would say the necessary change orders, are about 95% complete. We've basically torn everything out and rebuilt everything and seen everything that would be unforeseen. So there may be a couple more dollars than this 280 you'll see on Exhibit A, but you won't see much more than that. And then if I can turn you to Exhibit B, these are the stuff that we need. You know, like I said, we're 95% complete. We want to get that extra 5%. So you'll see that extra 5% is comprised of the $210,000 you'll see on Exhibit B. So the difference of the funding, like the town manager said, we have about 2.25 now. We need about 2.4. That includes those change orders. And then the additional things we'd like to get done, as seen on Exhibit B, add up to an additional $350,000 that we're asking the community for to make this what we know it can be.
Thank you. So you're looking for $350,000 coming from the Building Stabilization Fund?
Correct.
Thank you. Open it up to questions from the members of the Finance Committee. Ian?
Thank you. What are the expected hours of opening for the community center?
We're in the process right now, Ian, through you, Madam Chair, I'm sorry, of determining a policy as to when it's open, what's allowed, what's not allowed. What we do know is we're not going to rent it out to out-of-town organizations. It's going to be used for citizens of Stoughton and for employees of Stoughton. And the only charges will be our direct cost. So it's not a money-making operation. The direct cost will be the cost of a tip-certified bartender and the cost of cleaning the site after every event. So we're working out those details now. I'll present to the board in the form of a policy, and then they'll sign up as to how to schedule. The only booking we've got is Dave's event in April for the Jan Jones tribute. So that'll be the first formal event will be our town holiday party in mid-January. The first booking is Dave's in April. I do want to point out that one of the other big expenses on this is, as you'll see in a later article, we're fully committed to meeting the ADA requirements of the town of Stoughton. We owe that to our seniors and those who need more attention to access and use our facilities. So almost $200,000 of this project was unspecified in terms of making it ADA compliant. A couple of examples. There was no ADA bathroom. Now there's a separate ADA bathroom with a wide opening and so forth. There was at the, I call it the bar, it's the old ticket counter if you've ever been in there. There were 2 openings to sell tickets. Those are now openings to purchase your drinks. We have a 3rd opening that is just for someone in a wheelchair. So they can still go up to the bar and order a drink. It's this high. We have the exit where the handicap parking spots would be the entrance for people who are disabled. So the door is wider. You can push the button, like in the back door here, to get in. Once we decided to go ADA compliant, we went all the way to be ADA compliant. We want this to be an extension of the senior center So they have a place they feel safe and welcome and so forth. Last thing I would say that Paul did mention, when we took the paneling down, if this were the Great Hall at the Senior Center, we've kept all the internal wood that connects the two sides of it. As we took down the external wood, it was all rotted from years of leaks. And I always want to point this out. If it weren't for Paul asking for and the CPC agreeing to put on a new roof, that building would be demolished right now. It was saved because CPC and Paul had the wisdom to upgrade the heating system. We've now replaced the heating system 12 years later, but update the heating system and fix the roof, or that building would be lost. I'd invite all of you, if you're in the area, we're there till 2 o'clock every day. If you give me a call, I'd be delighted to give you a tour. I've given a couple of you tours already. One exciting thing, and I know this isn't on the agenda, but I think it's pretty exciting. There's a 135-year-old black cast iron, 3,000-pound safe in there. And it was taking up the room where the beer cooler's going, so obviously it had to go. So we've taken that out. Paul's guys moved it, and that's being refinished with a new combination on it. As you walk in, it's the first thing you're going to see encased in glass. And when we officially open it next spring, that's going to be a 50-year time capsule. We'll be asking members of the Finance Committee, we did this in Plymouth, to write a letter to the citizens of Stoughton 50 years from now. And it's so cool that what we do is if you write a letter, any of you, to the citizens of town about what you want to write to them, we then give you 4 tickets, look like Red Sox tickets, for the opening of the vault at a certain date and time 50 years from now. In Plymouth, I've got them in my safety deposit box for my grandchildren and great-grandchildren to go to that. I suspect I won't be there for that. But there's all kinds of cool things going on that. You've got a television over the fireplace that has a rolling history of the building, right down to the pictures on the wall where the train came through the wall, through the train station, and pinned 3 little girls in 1933 up against the bathroom wall. They lived. But as you're looking at that wall, you're seeing a picture of the broken wall from 1933 right where you're standing. It's really cool. So it's a combination of preserving the history of the building while at the same time making it a very high-end venue for meeting and greeting and socializing. It's something we really hope that the community uses often. It's a very special place when you go in there, and I invite anybody, give me a call. I go over there every day with Paul to take care of the project, and we'll show you around and show you exactly what we encountered. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonna?
Thank you. Just curiosity factor, we're always hiring consultants before we do projects, capital projects, and engineers and everything, and they must have given a recommendation on the cost before the project started. And I'm just curious, FF&E wasn't even a factor? They didn't expect that, and they didn't see a slanted floor? Those, I mean, obvious things like that, I'm kind of surprised about.
Jonna, me too. They know that we got a $2 million grant from the Commonwealth, and so they built a specification. It's a real point of contention between us and them right now, the architect. They built a project that had to get within a $2 million budget. We never told them they had to get within the $2 million budget. But they built, so they didn't, and they're probably listening, and that's really too bad. But they weren't given instruction to keep this price at $2 million. That we're coming in at 2.4 is a miracle. But they should have assumed that we couldn't upgrade the electrical, we couldn't upgrade the plumbing. We had to tear it all out and start over. All you had to do is go in the basement, look up, and you could see the rotted floorboards that had to be replaced. They should have assumed that one ladies' room with one toilet and one men's room with one toilet would not be sufficient for a building that's got 110-person capacity. So now we have 3 bathrooms with 5 toilets, not 2. So those were all change orders, and I asked them the other day, I said, who told you you had to keep it at $2 million? Because you weren't taking out costs, you were deferring costs. So it's an issue of contention with us. You have a very fair point.
Thank you. do you have anything to add? Dawn?
Thank you. This is Dawn. Just to echo what she just asked, and was this sent out, like, you have a subcontractor doing that? Was there a bid out for this, for us to take a look at, not,
John, we had an architect and engineer. They've done multiple projects for us, and typically have done a good job. They inspected the building. They took down the paneling to see if we could get in the HVAC system. They did some due diligence, and that's why I'm surprised at the end result. They put together a bid spec, they put together the drawings, and then procurement put it out for bid. And the company that's doing the job, which is extraordinary, they're called CV Construction, GVW Construction, thank you, Paul. They're extraordinary, but they bid on the spec. The spec was missing a lot of things. Thank you.
Arnie?
Quick question. Will we be using that same architect and engineers?
Arnie, they've done great work for the town in other places, and we have no complaints. All the municipalities seem to use the same one, and they've done good work for us. I haven't yet got to the bottom of why they assumed they had a $2 million cap. I certainly didn't give them that $2 million cap, and nobody seems to acknowledge that they gave them a $2 million cap. Call it a lack of communication, but from my perspective, very unacceptable.
Will we be putting it out to bid with other architects and engineers for the next time?
Oh, we typically do that, yes. We typically put out to bid, and our architectural design is one of those elements that do not need to go out for bid under Massachusetts procurement law, that law firms, accounting firms, because it's such a specialty, but we do put it out to bid. They bid on it. They gave us a quote for their services early on. For the most part, in building the project, they've done a wonderful job of controlling it. It was in the specifications that I have the problem with it. But that's a fight I'll fight with them. They've got an errors and omissions policy. We're going to have to settle things out in the end. I think you know me well enough by now that we don't get taken advantage of. And the fight's not over. But they've done a good job on other projects, to the most part, in being the project manager on this project. But I just don't like how the spec was done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members? Mark?
Thank you. What's the funding source for this?
Mark, $2.2 million has come from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. $2 million in a Mass Works grant that we got about a year ago this time, and another $150,000 in budget earmarks through the legislature. Another $200,000.
The article for tonight, the
Just for the article.
350,000 is from, it says here, building stabilization.
That's going to be from building. Why
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you meant on the 2.2 million.
Fine on, it's good to
Yes,
get that.
building
knowledge out there on the
stabilization.
other-
Mark, I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question.
Why, is there any chance that, or why did you not go through CPC since it's for the community?
We are going through CPC for the external part of it.
But for this one itself, why did you not?
We would have, except we got the $2 million. Or we would have gone to CPC and see if they wanted to partner with us on this. But we went directly to the governor's office, told them that Stoughton had been as cooperative as any community in dealing with the hotels that they sequestered without our permission. And as a result of that, we were able to get $2.2 million out of them. So we didn't need CPC money to finish the interior. To do the exterior, we will need CPC.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Are you, just for clarification, all the other money besides that's been spent so far on the interior of that building has come from the state?
Correct.
So you're asking for $350,000 out of the building stabilization?
That would be our portion.
Thank you.
On what was budgeted to be a $4 million project.
Thank you. Are there other questions from members of the Finance Committee? Okay, I'm going to open it up to members. Oh, Arnie, and then I will open it up to members of the public.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Carolyn. You said the exterior is still got to be done. What are the estimates to do the exterior?
We've hired a different architect, which I know you'll be happy to hear. We hired a different hardscape landscape architect who just finished the design under Mark's direction. We're now putting, in Paul's, we're now putting together the specs with that person, and we'll put it out to bid. My bet is it'll be somewhere between $900,000 and $1 million to finish the outside. All the wood has to be replaced. That's probably $150,000.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What was that?
Probably between $900,000 and $1 million.
No, you said something had to be replaced.
All the wood on the exterior has to come off and be replaced. It's all rotted. All those steel beams have to be sandblasted and lead tested and lead abated before they're removed. All the flooring outside, the uneven sidewalk, people are going to break their ankle on it. That will all be torn up and gardens will be installed. The inside is going to be a function area. The outside is going to be a sitting area for the citizens of the town, where they'll be surrounded by gardens and everything, fans up above. It's going to be a true community center where people can go and talk and socialize and enjoy each other's company.
Not having seen any of the plans, does that mean that the part of the parking is going to be eliminated?
Perhaps 2 spaces. If there's a piece, we're into way detailed right now, and we're not asking for the money for this here tonight, but at the very end of their plan, they've got a place where a band could play to the outside and everything else. And that would take up 2 spaces. If we cut that part of the project off, which I think we're going to have to, then we don't lose any spaces.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the committee? Not seeing any. I'm opening up to members of the public. Anyone? Dave?
Thanks, Tom. Okay, David Lurie, Precinct 6. Thank you again. Just a quick sidebar. You might want to ask CPC the question that came up about interior or exterior work and what they can or can't fund. Just because of my feeble memory, I believe when they were looking at Freeman Street, the Fire Station 1, they had limitations as to doing a museum type thing interior, but they were allowed to do work on the exterior of Freeman Street. It may be the same case here. It's worth asking, though. It's a good question, I thought. So this project, I think what everybody already agreed was that it's great that we finally got this property away from the state who let this building go to the condition that it was. And ever since then, we've been sinking money into it, and it's been terrific because it's an artifact that the town has, that everybody has pride in. It's a terrific building, and I just want to let everybody know that when it comes to asking people for money to invest in something, it's when you have the programming. Now, I only represent one group of many that would love to take advantage of this great space, and it's the programming that people can bring to that space that makes it worthwhile. To just have an artifact just sit there and say, oh, isn't that nice, we've got this old building that's got all this history, but it's very hard to attract money just because you have this artifact. It's much different when there's people interested in programming the space, and that's where the value is in this, and that's why it has a lot of merit. My only, if I had to come up with like something that I am a little bit concerned about is I believe that the town doesn't have enough debt service inside the budget. I think as it shrinks and shrinks down to 0, I'm a little concerned that a project like this could very easily slide into a bond that could then bring up to a modest level. There's a nice range that the DOR recommends that you should have, and this would be a perfect project to bring that debt service up to a little bit more from where it is. So that would be my only concern about it, but otherwise I think it's a great project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public would like to speak on Article 8? 9. Sorry. Not hearing and seeing anyone to speak forward, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is Article 11, Purchases of Voting Machines.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
And
Madam Chair, if I may, I'm going to have to recuse myself from this.
Certainly.
Thank you.
The town clerk was unable to be here tonight because she is at a conference for town clerks. No, she won't be here tomorrow night either. Tom will present it. Mark's going to present it.
Yep.
I hope you recognize Paul and I shook hands on the way out. That's what I told him, no.
I asked the town clerk to write me out a little summary of why we need these additional voting machines. I'll just read it directly. Town meeting had approved tabulators in 2023. That was her first bullet point. Town ordered 5 less than needed. Sub-precincts need their own tabulators for state and federal elections. Stoughton currently has 5 sub-precincts. We are set to have a state election in September of 2026. If there were a special election that was to surface in the near future, the town would not be equipped to run the election. It would have to borrow from another community, which would be a challenge. Bullet 4, looking to purchase 5 additional tabulators to comply with state law. And the last bullet, about a 2-month lead time to take possession of the machines after the vendor receives the payment.
Thank you. Yes, I also spoke, part of the issue here is that when the town purchased the voting machines a couple of years ago, they purchased them for all 8 precincts, and then those, like 4A and other auxiliary precincts that are for one in the town, but another for the state, were created, which is why we need the additional voting machines for those mostly state elections. Thank you. Becca?
Just to make sure we're all talking about the same thing, you can picture it. You keep saying tablets, so I'm thinking the thing when you walk in, when somebody at the table checks you in. Then we also have the where you go and actually fill out your ballot, and then we have the zhup machine that you stick your ballot in. Which are we talking about?
We're talking about the actual machines, the voting machines.
The ones that we put our
the
ballot
ballot in,
into.
yeah.
Yeah, the zhup machines.
We call it the zhup machine.
Okay, thank you.
Now that our technical knowledge is expanded here, any questions from members of the Finance Committee? Arnie?
Just so I get this straight, I'm sorry, but just looking for clarification. Those machines are not electronic. They just count the ballots. Do they actually read the black marks on the ballots?
Yeah, the machines are electronic, and they have electronic reading systems in them that count the black lines.
What brand are they going to be?
I don't know. It's the same brand that we currently have.
So they're duplicates of what we already have.
Yep. They match exactly what we have now.
New ones that we bought.
The new ones, the brand new ones that we just bought.
Okay, thank you very much.
A couple of years ago, we passed an article at town meeting because, as we were told then, we have to buy a type of voting machine that's been approved by the state. The ones we had previously were not approved by the state.
Exactly.
These ones were approved by the state. We have very little choice in what's approved by the state. And so we bought these, and we want to buy 5 more. Donna?
Is there any way to get the name of the company for them? Because I would like to know that, please. Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, this is a good opportunity to invite the members again to certain things. When I was the Vice Chairman of the Finance Committee in my hometown, I always enjoyed seeing what it is, how what it is I voted for turned out. And that's why I invite you to see the train station. I'd also invite you, if you remember last year, you voted in support of reorganizing through some incredible organization networking in the safe, in the clerk's safe. That was a room where we opened the safe. You couldn't get in the safe. Lauren took a tour of it the other day. Now you open that, the asbestos has been abated, the thing has been sealed, and what are these machines they're called? they're portable files that you move like this. You can find anything in no time flat. It's so beautiful. And that was because of your vote. So I would always invite you to go see what it is we ask you to do. If you choose to do it, you get to see it in action. So if you're in the clerk's office, please stop in.
It is a very cool system. I got to tell you, I looked at it myself and went down there. You can move the entire filing cabinet like with a finger or two.
Yeah.
And you don't need the aisle space of 3 or 4 cabinets. You only need the aisle space of 1 because you can move the others next to each other. It's very cool.
You can double the amount of material that was stored in there. And I know they always love when you come down and say, hey, can we see that? So please do so. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions from the FinCom members? Cynthia?
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. As Chair of Municipal Operations, maybe I got some information you don't have. The machines are coming from election systems and software, voting tabulators. That's a backup material that I received.
Thank you. Arnie?
This is just a follow-up to the voting machines. I watched them being calibrated on the last election. So the machines I saw being calibrated are what you are replacing, those same machines?
I really don't know the answer. If the last election had the new voting machines, yes. But I don't know if the last election included the new voting machines or not.
I don't think we're replacing any, we're adding.
No, I understand, but we're adding duplicates of exactly what we've got.
Right. That is
Right.
what I
Correct.
understand.
We can always just take a look if you wouldn't mind.
Correct.
Any other questions? Trying to look through to find the rest of the backup committee, but here we go. Yep, it is on the backup, which we have, with, as Cynthia referred, we're looking to purchase an additional 5 ES&S DS200 voting tabulators, as we will need these for all state and federal elections, which includes sub-precincts. The town of Stoughton currently has 8 tabulators, and we will need 13 to cover our sub-precincts. It's in the backup, roughly on page 132 of your backup material. And then it goes through 140, 133 price estimates, at least on mine. It may not number exactly. Uh, 132 and 133. There's a quote in there, and from election system and software, I guess that's what ES&S stands for. Ian?
Thank you. I'm just a little confused because we need 13 for the sub precincts. As far as I know, they've been around for kind of a while now, so just wondering like how we ran like the November 24 election.
The November 24th elections were federal elections, and it didn't matter by sub-precincts. It's when we're voting for state.
Okay. I was just confused because
Precincts.
you had mentioned federal when you said why we
So
need
like,
them.
for example, I'm in precinct 4A, which means I'm in precinct 4 for town elections. But normally precinct 4 would be represented in the State House by Ted Phillips, and precinct 5 would be represented by Bill Galvin. Precinct 4A is represented by Bill Galvin. So when it comes to state elections, they need to have a separate machine. So they might need to have 2 for precinct 4, 1 for 4 and 1 for 4A. And there were a few other of those. For the federal election, it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter which precinct you are voting from as to who you're voting for. The candidates are the same.
I mean, I'm following that. I think what I'm just confused about is that I'm just wondering, because it sounds like we use these new machines at the last election. I don't know if that refers to November 24, or if that was one of the April election? Okay. So then we were on the old machines for the last state one? Okay.
Right, which would have been like
Okay.
3 to 4 years ago, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? Anyone from the public? Not hearing any, I think we'll move on to our last item on the agenda for tonight, Article 15, demolition of the State Theater.
Madam Chair, as you recall, we had an article 2 years ago to take by eminent domain the hole in the ground. And that caused the owner of the hole in the ground to get going. Mark and I worked very closely and very hard on that, both strategically and operationally. And now we've got that building. That State Theater, over the past year, the owner has received multiple notices of danger, particularly the danger of fire where it's connected to buildings in that entire block. Had been notified by the building inspector and the fire chief that it's a dangerous site and it needs to be repaired or demoed. The owner didn't respond to anything. So the Board of Selectmen, the Select Board held a hearing, a public hearing, invited the owner by certified mail to take up consideration of an order of condemnation, condemning the building. The board took testimony from the building commissioner, from the police department, and from the fire chief about the need for that building to come down. The owner of the building chose to not even attend or participate remotely in that meeting. So the order of condemnation was given. The gentleman was served, and he has taken it seriously. He has listed the property, the entire block except for the last building, for sale. But that's not going to stop. That could start another 10-year waiting period. So the order of condemnation stands. Now, let me tell you what that means. It means if he doesn't perform, and we really hope he does, because if the town is forced to demo the building, it'll cost somewhere between 25 and 40% more than if he does it himself, because of the requirements that we've got under the OSHA statute that he doesn't necessarily have to follow. If we tear it down, then the property is immediately liened with a municipal lien certificate, which gives us first position even over any mortgage holders. And he will owe us that money as a lien on the property at 14% interest until it's paid off. If he sells the property, we get paid off first. Now, we've got close to $20 million in the bank right now collecting 4% interest. So if we're forced to do this, and we don't want to, we're not in that business of tearing down buildings, but it's holding up all of the economic development plans we've got in that downtown. It's a blight in the center of town, and it affects all the buildings next to it because they're interconnected. So we're hoping, and Mark spoke to the owner the other day, we have indications that he's now got an engineer planning how to take the building down and being respectful of the interconnections he's got with the block, which are not scheduled to be taken down, just the theater. And he's very serious about it. So our hope is that you support this article, town meeting supports this article, and we never use it. But it is the leverage we have to make sure that just like the hole in the ground getting done, this building gets done. Mark?
I mean, I can't add much more than what Tom just said, but I've had very detailed discussions with the owner and the son. So we do know they're digging into it because they got into some technical specifications about the shared walls between the front storefronts and the building in the back, and how there's sharing joists and beams and things like that. And they can't just knock the building down. They have to secure those first before they knock the rest of the building down. So they're aware of the situation. They've been notified of the hearing, the article, in front of town meeting, and there's been more action recently than there ever has been in the past, so keep our fingers crossed, and like Tom said, the idea is we don't want to do the work ourselves. And it's, to be honest with you, from their standpoint, it's much cheaper for them to do the work because they're not paying prevailing wage like we do. So it's always going to be cheaper for them to do it themselves.
Madam Chair, we're looking, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Would you like to go?
No, go right ahead.
We're looking for the Finance Committee, the Select Board, to approve this article. We're asking town meeting to approve this article. We will be very hesitant to spend this money to knock down this building, but we need the owner to know we've got the capacity to do so if he doesn't act. Thank you.
I would just say, I think this is the first time in like 10 years, I think the owner's ever spoken to anyone. He usually responds to nothing.
We have their attention.
So, before I open it up, I have a quick question. The building that we're talking about includes that entire block with the exception of the Avocados restaurant?
The building is owned by a common owner for the entire block, except for the last building on the corner.
Which
on
is?
on the opposite end of the theater.
Which is the restaurant?
Yeah, the tax accounting
Oh,
place.
the tax accounting, that building is separate.
Correct.
But but the other one is all kind of adjoined.
Correct.
Although we're talking about only demolishing the theater portion of that building.
By virtue of the questions he quizzed Mark on, he's got an engineer who's helping him figure out how do you demo the theater and at the same time separate it from the adjacent buildings, which can be done.
Right. Okay, thank you. Jonna?
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. Are they paying property taxes presently? Are they up to date?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
They're paying it and they're current.
Okay, so believe it or not, I agree with Selectman Gito when he was saying that he made a really interesting point when he said there were no reports since April and the owner could have responded positively. And has anyone checked it since then, recently?
It's been checked 3 times in the past year.
But I'm asking if it's been checked since April, like he was inquiring, because it was an excellent point he made.
Yeah, he was talking about the in-time materials.
Yeah, there's in the interior materials, but also in these letters, the more important part is the fire code issues and the structural cracks on the building. In order to repair those things, they would have to pull permits with the town, and there have been no permits pulled to fix those things.
And you're saying that there'll be a lien on it, so if he sells it, we'll get it back. That seems ludicrous to me, because who's going to buy it with $1 million lien on it? Not me.
There are developers that are interested in that whole block right now. Multiple developers are talking to him.
With that kind of a lien on there?
Well, there is no lien on it yet.
I know, but that's why I'm saying,
So-
you don't know that they would be interested,
If a
because we don't have a
developer-
lien on there.
I'm sorry, I interrupted again.
It's all right.
Pardon me. If a developer bought it, the developer would bake into that the demolition of the building. Probably $1 million or close to it, of the whole block. He's got the whole block for sale, not just the building. If a developer bought it, they would bake into their offer. He's asking $4 million. They would bake into the offer the need to demo that whole block and then build anew. If the other thing happens and he doesn't demo it, you're right. Nobody's going to buy it. It will sit there forever,
Exactly.
just like the hole in the ground. That's not good for Stoughton if it sits there forever, abandoned. And the reason is you've got kitchens in that block, Avocado and others, in that block. There's fire in those blocks. If one building has a fire, according to the police chief, the whole block will be destroyed. Fire chief. The whole block will go down overnight like that. So it's a matter of, do we want to control our destiny, or do we want another hole in the ground, where it's a hole in the ground for 15 years and people laughing at our community every time they drive through the center? Mark and I decided to control our own destiny. This was only a year ago, and now we see what we see. The same formula is true for the theater. It's been condemned. It has to come down. The question is, who's going to do it? If we do it, it'll go up for sale immediately because the building will be gone. If he does it, it'll go up for sale right away, and he'll get top dollar for it. If we don't do what we're promising to do, and he does nothing, it'll be the same thing 15 years from now. And it'll be the blight of that. That's the first thing people see when they come down 139.
I don't know. I just don't see it as a very feasible or viable option. I think there's got to be something else. That's my opinion.
I'd be
Thank
open
you.
to any ideas.
Okay.
I really would.
Lauren?
I just have a curiosity question. Can you hear me? Is the owner of that building in that whole area from Stoughton?
No, he's not. He's from Quincy,
Yeah.
from Milton.
This is a concern I brought up at the select board
Right.
meeting.
Right.
We get people from out of town buying our buildings for tax write-offs and everything. Sorry about my voice. And then they don't care. They're not in the town. And so, yeah. So I had said at the select board, is there some kind of clause or something they could put in for people buying buildings in our town that certain things have to be, done on a certain, time basis?
And Lauren, they took note of that. They've asked me to put that on a future agenda. It's a great idea. We've got a couple of buildings like this, right? We've got a couple of buildings like this. We had the hole in the ground, which wasn't a building. We created a Malcolm Parsons. Yep. We've got the theater. We've got the train station, where we controlled our own destiny there as well, and where we've got the armory that is next on mine and Mark's hit list to turn that into something. But it requires a long-term strategy. Quite frankly and personally, Dawn and I talked about this today, it oftentimes requires that I take a few bumps and bruises because a lot of people don't like change. If you recall, you may ask, why did they give us $2.2 million? Well, I'll give you the backstory, and I think it's relevant, Madam Chair. When the migrants were placed in our hotels and we lost that room tax, I went in to see the governor, and we raised hell. And we got reimbursed for those room taxes, or we would have had a $500,000 lost revenue line item. I then wrote a letter to the governor because we wanted this to be a community center. Mark had already done the schematic design of the building. We knew what it wanted to be. We knew we could do it for under $3 million. So I wrote a public letter, an open letter to the governor. And in the final, some of you are going to remember this, in the final paragraph, I said, you're expecting us to be a welcoming community to migrants, but you won't invest in the reconstruction of our community center. So Dawn and I talked about this today. That started a rumor that we're building this community center for migrants. And I've taken an awful beating, which I really don't care about, in the public eye, that we built this. You wouldn't believe, every day the builder reports to us, myself, Mark, and Paul, they've had that thing as a migrant shelter, as a migrant community center, as a massage parlor. It goes on and on and on. And for every one of those rumors, I'm on the take. That's why the massage parlor is coming in. That's why the migrant center is coming in. And I ignore it. But if he and I and Biz don't think long-term and strategically and have a plan to get these things done, you're going to have more buildings like the theater, like the Hole in the Ground project, and people from out of town, we're from out of town, say, what's wrong? What's wrong? Maybe you like it. Maybe you like the way it looks. I don't know. But you pay us to think hard, come up with a unique strategic plan, use his intellect to figure out what we can put there and what it's going to cost, and then pull the trigger. But we need your partnership. The hole in the ground would still be a hole in the ground had you not partnered on that article a year ago. Now it's going to be units. The theater will be that old, blighted, dilapidated, dangerous building a year from now without your support and the support of the legislative body. We can only come up with a plan. Only you can do the plan.
Becca, then Arnie. And Chet, sorry.
Back again. Got a question. What is the order of how things happen, in what order? Do we have to condemn the building?
It's been condemned.
So does that mean that the businesses that are around the building are also condemned?
No, it's just that theater has been condemned. That address has been condemned. And that building can be separated from Avocados, which it's attached to.
So if it's condemned, can he sell it?
Sure. Yep.
If,
Which will not change the condemnation order. It's the building that's condemned, not the owner. So it's subject to condemnation even if he sells it tomorrow.
It might affect the amount of money he gets for it.
Correct.
okay, I may have another question. I just haven't figured it out yet.
Sure.
Okay, Chet? Oh, Becca?
So I know that Friends of the State Theater have been pushing again, I'm not sure if they're bringing an article forward, trying to get traction, but we haven't seen any numbers. At this point, is that pretty much a pipe dream?
I can't speak for them, where they're raising money, how they're raising money, why they're raising money. What we do know is the building is condemned, and it's dangerous. If they want to buy the building, I know they've got an estimate of $12 million to try and repair it and upgrade it. I don't know if they've raised $12 million. I know there's a lot of money sitting in a bank somewhere. But we just, we stay in our lane. Our lane is to remove the blight from downtown and to make sure that downtown doesn't burn down.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Beck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Coulter, I was told that they started cleaning out the theater with all the boxes and things like that. My other question is, if they're doing that, that's fine, it's great. My question is, are they being fined at all?
No, we've gone the route of condemnation.
Oh, just, that's it?
We've given them many constructive letters, told them they're subject to fines. They've not yet been fined. And to your earlier point, Chet, the point that Selectman Gito is making is that the boxes that have been stored have been removed, and that's wonderful.
Right.
That lowers some of the risk. But the problems the building has is structural, electrical, in that there's a source for fire, and there's a burning stick of a building that'll take down the whole block. The boxes are irrelevant to the condemnation order.
Okay, my
Thanks, Chet.
thinking is fine them instead of sending letters. That's all. They'll probably get quicker results.
Could have, yeah, I agree. That would have been a remedy. Typically, we find that when we find people of means, they pay the fine. It's modest. You're regulated by statute how much you can fine. It's nothing to them, and the condition continues for years. Could have gone that route, but the certified letters they've received over the past year serve as constructive notice. The board has met its obligation for notice and for specific performance requirements, and they've just ignored it. They don't even respond.
Oh, yes, if they don't respond, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. May I just continue?
Can I just ask a quick question? How much would the fines be?
We never considered them, so I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Chet.
I was going to say, if you send them certified letters and they don't respond, they're not going to respond to a fine.
Fair point.
And they're paying their taxes, right? Is that correct?
They're current.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Chet.
Okay. I'm just, this has just been such a production for, almost 20 years. you know, I don't want it to be like the hole in the ground. It sounds like you're doing your due diligence, but have you been seeking legal counsel throughout this whole process so that there are no loopholes to go and jump back through for this deadbeat owner?
Thank you, Heidi. Our legal counsel has been driving the bus on this. All of the certified letters. Sometimes every Thursday when he's in here, I see Jack in here. And I think our legal counsel is his personal counsel. I can never get in there. So the legal counsel has been driving this process. All the letters have been written by Brian Winter. He's on top of the statute. The letter of condemnation was the fourth action needed within a year in order for us to have legal standing to do this. Great question.
Hi, Marty West. 18 years ago,
No, it's on, but we're not hearing you.
18 years ago, I performed in that theater, and it was scary. In between scenes, it was a musical. When I was in the, it's not a basement, and when I was not under the theater in between scenes, I felt very unsafe. And it was, I performed in 15 theaters around southeastern Massachusetts, and it was the worst theater I ever performed in 18 years ago. My opinion was it wasn't serviceable. The audience could hear me singing, they could hear the music playing, but I couldn't hear the music I was singing to. It was, it was a lost cause, but it felt very unsafe then.
Thank you, Marty. Just a point of historical data. Everybody remembers that Abe Lincoln was shot in Forbes Theater. What people don't know is a year later, it was in such incredible condition that the building collapsed and killed 18 people that worked in the building. And that's a historical fact. People only remember one guy. 18 people died in there because a 100-year-old building collapsed during a show.
All right. I got to ask, what show were you performing in?
Cinderella. I was not the lead.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion, if I'm able, as a spectator, that after every Pledge of Allegiance, we get a national anthem.
We will take that under advisement. Ian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you've put forth an argument that, you know, if we go forward, basically we get a lien on the property at $1 million where they have to pay us the 14% interest, which is better than we're getting in the bank. And then in addition, we'd have a block that's cleared out to OSHA specifications and fair game for any developer now to come in and put whatever they want in there. So I guess the question that I have to you is, if this passes at town meeting, why wouldn't we just go ahead and raise it on November 1st?
Well, if the town meeting passes it, we'll be able to raise it on November 1st. But being a public sector municipality, we have to put it out to bid, get competitive bids, and the whole deal. I think Mark would like to speak to a developer can build whatever they want in downtown. It's a very strict zoning bylaw down there.
Well, my point being was, I know we have things, but because you said you want this, but not to have to use it. But the question is what, I mean, part of it is, you know, what is holding you back from using it?
I'm a fiscal conservative, and I'm cheap, and I don't want to spend money. I'd rather he do the responsible thing and clear that lot and sell the property so that we can have a revitalized downtown. I won't be reluctant to do it. The board has voted. If you support it, town meeting supports it, so the money's there, and he doesn't return Mark's phone calls and take out a building permit, we're not going to be patient. We will do it. We don't want to. We don't think we're going to have to. We never had to spend a dime to take the hole in the ground by eminent domain. But when they see that we're all working together and we're all on board with the strategy, they have a tendency to act. I think this man will act. He's showing signs that he's getting a demo contractor right now.
And if he does find a buyer, does that kind of push the clock out? I mean, how does that work?
Not for us. The notice of condemnation was a public hearing, so the whole world knows that it's under a condemnation order, a demolition order. And so developers call Mark's office all the time. There was a developer that called last week. He's already met with he's Greek, he met with the Greek owner. He's from Berkeley Construction, one of the biggest ones in downtown Boston, who has built downtown centers before. But the deal killer for him is he doesn't want to demo it, and he wants to own the last building on the block. And so he's talking to the last building owner now on the block. He doesn't want to build a whole center and have one 150-year-old building on the end. But there's other developers that are interested. We have developers in our hometown that would be interested in that property. We're also negotiating with the federal government right now, the U.S. Postal Service, to sell us their post office for $1. And that plan can't come together with that theater there. Because the deal we're proposed is a land swap. Because this postal service in Stoughton is no longer in the distribution business. It's only in the retail business. So we've offered them our recreation building to be in the retail postal service business. And we take the post office for $1. And we would turn it into a green park. A beautiful, if you've ever been to Norwood downtown, you'll see what I'm talking about. A beautiful place to gather, backed up to the community center, backed up to a new building that's going in, virtual golf and things like that. It's all recreation destination stuff. But the Postal Service isn't doing that unless we have a plan for making that a park, because they're promoting selling underutilized assets for open space. So we've been speaking to the United States Postal Service. I think we've got them close. Mark and I are going to be visiting Washington again next month for another meeting. They want to know what's going to happen to the theater. Everything is a domino effect. When one happens, the other can happen. The developers don't want to build a multi-unit, high-end residential project if it's backed up to the post office. The post office doesn't want to sell it to us to be a green space if it's backed up to the theater. So we're just trying to pull all these pieces together so that we have a viable downtown that we can all work and play and have fun and be proud of. But it's like herding cats. But that's what we enjoy doing.
Hi, I want to commend you on using the leverage that you're going to use, but I want to know about, is that building, does it have insurance because of the fact that it's an attractive nuisance? Being an attractive nuisance, it may not be insurable. So therefore, if it does have insurance, do we have any recourse on that?
Don, we have no way of knowing it because it doesn't have a mortgage. If it had a mortgage, we could go to the Registry of Deeds and see if they have insurance. My bet is they do not have insurance because no insurance provider will cover that risk or that liability, which makes the challenge even greater. I mean, that's how the hole in the ground started. It was an uninsured fire.
Thank you. All right, Ben?
Has the town's attorney reviewed this plan to make sure there was no obstacles that could potentially get in the way of achieving the objectives?
He's very involved, Ben. There's not a letter that's gone to the owner that he hasn't drafted, which cites the state statute about this situation. So, yeah, he's not only giving counsel, he's quarterbacking it. We came up with the plan. He's coming up with the legal approach. They had to be notified 4 times in 12 months. The condemnation plan was the 4th time. It's a good question.
Did you have any follow-up right now, Ben?
Will this plan affect the adjacent businesses in terms of revenue or any of their business activities?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. It's going to be separated from the original business, from all the other businesses that are on the block. They will not be torn down under our plan. They're not a danger to the community. Will it affect them for the better? I would think so. Hey, look, I grew up in Avon, and then I moved to Kingston for 35 years. I never came once to Stoughton. I grew up next door. I never once came to Stoughton downtown to have dinner, ever. That building is a blight. It's a menace. It doesn't speak to who we are as a town, as citizens. It just doesn't. And so how will it affect the businesses? I think with that building gone, particularly if the whole plan comes together and we have a green space behind that and a community center behind that, people will be thrilled to come to the downtown. They'll walk, they'll ride their bikes. Mark's now building roads, many of them, he just got a big grant for bike paths that not throughout the town, but in a significant portion of the town. We need to revitalize the downtown. Everybody talks about it in the master plan going back 25 years. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm giving a speech and I shouldn't. It's not going to happen with blights in the center. It just won't happen.
Are you all set? Next, Arnie, Jonna.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me, two things I was thinking. It's got to affect the other businesses because there could be unanticipated structural issues or whatever, closing down their businesses, not getting their tax revenue. So there are definitely, I mean, you want to paint the picture of everything rosy, I get that, but there's also the other side that we seem to be ignoring, and that really is not a good idea. And the other thing is, we're going to take on $1 million debt and expect to get paid back. I mean, I would just walk away from it personally if I had that. I just think it's like you're not looking realistically at it. Thank you.
Good point. If it's leaned, we can take it. We can take the property and control our own destiny. We just have to go through that prescribed foreclosure process. In terms of the other businesses, it's affecting the other businesses right now. There's a restaurant attached to it. Does it concern anybody that blighted building is attached to it? I know I'm concerned about it. The questions we're getting from the engineering company right now indicates that they recognize you need to take engineering controls. It's like a transplant to separate the building that's being demolished from the rest of the block. It's not being done carelessly. We won't allow it to be done carelessly. There'll be a detailed demolition permit, which we will require engineering controls and OSHA sign-off. I asked you, do you have a better option? You just gave us one. Just walk away from it. But then we're going to be stuck with that for the rest of our lifetime.
And the only other thing I wanted to say is, I know you're saying now that it might be a green space or whatever. No way it would be used for more housing?
That's certainly not my call. That would be town meeting's call on what they're going to approve or not approve. All I'm saying is conceptually, as we're talking to potential sellers of the post office and telling them what our plan would be, they raised the issue of the theater. Off topic.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me, I just want to make sure I understand. I think when you were talking about potential green space, it's talking about selling that post office that's over there, moving it to the recreation department, so we have that land, and then we would make that green space. But the theater building and that whole building block would be whatever somebody wants to build there, ideally something better than what's there now.
They can build, not affordable housing, they can build, correct me if I'm wrong, market rate, high-end housing there in the center of town by right.
Okay. So, ideally, it would look something like the new construction with something used on the first floor and.
And I want to be clear on something because my Facebook will blow up tonight. I don't want you to sell the post office. I don't care about green space.
No.
This is the stuff he and I talk about every morning to try and move the town forward. We can't do anything without approval of the legislative body. So we can only come with ideas, with information, with data, and then the bright people, you folks, and the town meeting reps and the Board of Selectmen will make the decision. It's when we stop having ideas and possibilities, I would recommend, I shouldn't speak for Mark, but I'd recommend you fire both of us.
Yeah. We'll keep that in mind. I'll remember that. All right. I just wanted to make sure because I think we've been talking about so many different plots of land, but this article is only dealing with the theater. The post office is nowhere on the agenda of town meeting at all.
The point was, Carolyn, that the theater is holding up that other development.
Right. Okay. Did you have questions, Arnie?
No, I'm good. He answered my question.
Thank you. Are there any, Heidi?
I just am missing in my brain one piece of the domino effect. If the post office goes to the rec department, where does the rec department go?
Haven't figured that out yet.
Okay, so that's why I'm not
But we
confused
do
because I didn't
have
have
an
the
empty
piece.
building called the Armory.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Not seeing anyone else from the Finance Committee. Cynthia?
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. Those of us who've lived in Stoughton a long time have fond memories of the theater. When I was on the select board, I was part of the group that tried to save the theater. Some of you will recall that the CPC gave them a matching grant. They couldn't match it, and they had several years to do that. We were looking for a sugar mama like they had in Norwood to save their theater, but there just isn't enough sugar in Stoughton like there is in Norwood. Another piece of history is fire in the square is not a myth. The Universalist Church burned down in 1965 at the corner of Wyman and Washington. There was a 3-story building. It's a Chinese restaurant now. It burned down. The present parking lot here at Town Hall was a 3-story rooming house. That burned down, and a Stoughton firefighter died on the 3rd floor trying to clear the building of, it was an occupied building. The roof of the GAR building, where the public parking is, that caught fire a couple of years ago, and we were lucky that the fire department saved it. Fire in these buildings around the square is not a myth. If you go to the theater now, part of the facade, I don't know if it's plaster or cement, has fallen. Inside the building, even when we were trying to save it, the roof was leaking, water was infiltrating through the sides, the plaster was falling. If you go by the building, you'll see graffiti on it. I think young people, I'm blaming young people because I don't think at 77 I could climb up to the roof of the theater, are already putting graffiti on that building. How much effort would it make for them to break into a window, throw something in, and that just goes? I mean, firefighters are brave people, but there's just so much they can do when there's an empty building like that monstrosity. Obviously, they wouldn't go inside to save it. It's a condemned building. But everything else, look at the PNC. It's right behind. That's a brand new, lovely building right behind that theater. So we're putting decent, law-abiding, tax-paying people in jeopardy, and town employees in jeopardy by leaving that mess the way it is.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience want to speak? Dave?
Yeah, Dave Lurie, Precinct 6. Thank you, Madam Chair. I am not in favor of having a restoration of this building. It has got to go. I mean, everybody understands that. There's a lot of sentiment. I understand that too. I think the only thing that a finance committee could really ask is what's paid in taxes on that property now? After a demolition is done by whoever, how much do you get in tax revenue after it's gone? And all the rest of it, the moving parts and the dominoes and the, God knows, it's as clear as mud. So I don't think it's going to be possible for a finance committee to kind of sift through a recommendation about what the impact's going to be when there's so many different ideas about what could happen. But you can understand at least what's the tax impact, because that's our job, and was my job when I was on the finance committee, but it's your job now to figure out what is the financial impact, because that's real. That's the only thing real about this. There's going to be a change in value on that lot. You know, the rest of it, I don't see it being restored, so it's just about, you know, what's real. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to speak on this? All right. Having that, Article 15 was the last article for the public hearing for tonight. I would like to entertain a motion to continue the public hearing till tomorrow. Chet made. All right, so Chet made the motion to continue the public hearing until tomorrow night, till Thursday, September 25th at 7:00 p.m. here. And so at this point, we're going to continue the public hearing. It is 9:07. Does anybody want to discuss articles, or would we like to adjourn till tomorrow? Then I need a motion to adjourn. All right, so Lauren has made a motion to adjourn. We need a second. All right, we got a couple of seconds from Heidi and Dawn. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. All those opposed? Thank you. Our meeting's adjourned. We'll see you all tomorrow.